That's not too bad. Ladies and gentlemen, you're probably wondering why I just did this with Cal Kestis. Well, I'll tell you why. If this video gets 1,000 likes, I'll take this boy to Relic 9 in the very next video, so I guess you better like the video. But before we go any further, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk a little bit about the fact that we are coming up to a brand new era. A brand new era, ladies and gentlemen, that sees us finally be able to take Rotta the Hutt to the holotables and start dominating folks left and right, and he is getting his very own Datacron, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to change the way that he operates. So we're going to talk about how do we mod him, where we're going to use him, and what team comp are we going to use, ladies and gentlemen. Let's roll the dice. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen of the tribe, to another Galaxy of Heroes video with me, your bald boy scribe. How the devil are we all doing? Smash that like button because I'll be Relic 9ing my OG Cal Kestis. And if we do manage to hit that threshold, I guess we'll just roll another one, right? We'll just roll it on up. Hopefully no Ewoks will be damaged in my roster, in the creation of content. Rotta the Hutt then, ladies and gentlemen. Who else is super excited to actually take on the Swole Slug himself and start slapping fools back and forth in the holotables? I certainly am. So Rotta is a rather fantastic unit, and from the Datacrons and from the data mine footage that we've seen for Rotta the Hutt, he is actually going to be, well, he's going to be taking out his own dad solo, which is kind of nutty. Let's talk a little bit about his kit. We'll go through and I'm going to make some modding recommendations, whether or not we need to apply all the Omicrons and all that good business. So here we go. His basic: Cleave the Unworthy. Deal physical damage to the target enemy twice and inflict 1 stack of bleed, a maximum of 6. Can't be evaded, can't be resisted until the end of the encounter. Healing immunity and speed down for 1 turn. Both of those can be resisted, ladies and gentlemen. Reduce the target's defense by 20%, stacking, which can't be resisted until the end of battle. For a basic, pretty darn good. If Rotta the Hutt is the only ally at the start of battle, reduce the target enemy's critical chance by 10% up to 50%, which can't be evaded or resisted, and Rotta gains 20 speed, a maximum of 100 until the end of battle, and he recovers 10% health and protection. He is rather sustainable, is the giant slug. All of these things are very, very good. Being able to ramp an additional 100 speed is pretty dope. Knock 'em dead. That's special number 1. Deal physical damage to all enemies and dispel all buffs on them. Inflict 2 stacks of bleed. Bleed is great, by the way. Until the end of the encounter, and off balance on them for 2 turns. If all enemies are inflicted with off balance, Rotta is going to gain a bonus turn and 40% additional offense for 1 turn. If Rotta the Hutt has a full squad of Hutt Cartel allies at the start of battle, all other allies assist, and tank allies taunt for 2 turns. If Rotta is below 50% health, this taunt cannot be dispelled, which is nice. We've also got our first Omicron for Grand Arena. If all allies were Hutt Cartel at the start of battle, this should trigger if he's just on his own as well, by the way. This ability cannot be evaded or resisted. If Rotta was the only ally at the start of battle, he inflicts an additional stack of bleed, still a maximum of 6, until the end of the encounter on all enemies and removes 10% turn meter from them. Reduces the cooldown of Showboat by 1, and he gains 50% offense for 1 turn. That's if he lands that thingamabob, right? Yeah, if he inflicts everybody with off balance, basically. He's going to gain 50% offense instead of 40% offense. This one is okay, in my opinion. The fact that you can reduce the cooldown of Showboat is probably the more pertinent point here. This will be better than what it is in Colosseum, because Showboat does a lot of damage, but not to enemies that take reduced damage from percentile health effects like every single Colosseum boss. Let us continue. Showboat. Deal physical damage to all enemies. Trigger a stack of bleed on them. Sorry, that's where that true damage is coming from, right? Well, it's not true damage. It's percentile health damage. Detonate all thermal detonators on them and stun them for 1 turn. If Rotta was the only ally at the start of battle, these stuns can't be evaded or resisted. Absolutely flipping nutty, guys. Absolutely nutty. Rotta is solo, you just AoE, trigger all the bleeds, trigger all the thermers, and stun. So what? Beg pardon? It does have a cooldown of 6, but of course Knock 'em Dead with that Omicron is going to reduce that all the time. Don't forget, Knock 'em Dead also, if he lands those off balance, he's going to take a bonus turn, which is going to help cycle through the cooldowns very, very quickly, and he's going to be ramping speed all battle. If the enemy is defeated by this ability, all Hutt Cartel allies gain 20% turn meter, because that's what Rotta needs, more turn meter. While in Grand Arena, if all allies were Hutt Cartel, tank allies recover 10% protection for each enemy damaged by this ability, and attacker allies gain 10% defense penetration, stacking to a maximum of 50% each time this ability is used. If Rotta the Hutt was the only ally at start of battle, this ability instantly defeats enemies below 40% health, does not work on Galactic Legends or raid bosses, and certainly doesn't work on anybody that is immune to instant defeats, which we are seeing a lot more frequently now. Rotta recovers 50% health and protection for each enemy defeated by this ability. He's going to be dope. He is going to be dope. This is a good Omicron to put on, even if you're doing both, and we'll get to why it's going to be even more important and even more powerful in the upcoming very near future. So what is his leadership? A legacy reforged. Hutt Cartel allies are going to gain 50% accuracy and crit avoidance. That accuracy is a weird one, but hey, crit avoidance is nice. 200% defense, which is silly, 75% offense, 50 speed, and 40% tenacity. Darkside Hutt Cartel allies and Rotta gain 75% counter chance and 50% critical chance. The first time each Hutt Cartel ally falls below 50% health, they're going to gain damage immunity for 1 turn and recover 20% health and protection, and ally tanks will taunt for 2 turns. Whenever a Darkside Hutt Cartel ally or Rotta inflicts a stack of bleed or a thermal detonator on the enemy, they gain 5% turn meter and recover 5% health and protection, which is really, really nice. I'm pretty sure that bleed caps out at 6 and it can never disappear, so there's a limited number of times when you're going to get the bleed stack triggering this in particular, but it's still good. If Rotta the Hutt is the only ally at start of battle, he gains 250% max health, just because, and max protection. 50% health steal, 25 speed, and can't be instantly defeated. Whenever he is ability blocked, blind, or dazed, feared, or stunned, he'll dispel it and inflict a stack of bleed until the end of the encounter, as well as 1 thermal detonator on all enemies for 2 turns, which cannot be evaded, nor can it be resisted. If it can't be dispelled, he also gains damage immunities. Yeah, so if he basically gets, that stunned, blind, blocked, ability blocked, all that nonsense, if he can't dispel it, he's just going to gain damage immunity, so you can't kill him. Which can't be dispelled. It's like a locked damage immunity, which is, it's kind of dope. It's kind of dope. Lots and lots of big, bulky chunkiness over here. Feel like we're going to have to sort of treat this guy kind of like a wampa, basically. Pedunky Muffkin, which is a great name for an ability. His first unique. Ally Hutt Cartel tanks taunt for 2 turns. That's a bit of a tongue twister, don't you think? Whenever Darkside support allies attack the enemy, allies recover 10% health and protection and turn meter. Darkside Hutt Cartel allies and Rotta can ignore taunt effects during their turn. All Hutt Cartel allies are immune to cooldown increasing, and Rotta is immune to thermal detonators. He's just custom made to counter his own father. If Rotta the Hutt had a full squad of Hutt Cartel allies at the start of battle, whenever they have their turn meter removed, Rotta has a 50% chance to gain a bonus turn. Say what now? Say what now? If Rotta the Hutt was the only ally at start of battle, whenever an enemy removes turn meter from him, he deals damage to all enemies equal to 10% of their max health. Don't turn me to remove him, and he has an additional 30% chance to gain a bonus turn. Wow. He's just going to be taking bonus turns all the time. Whilst in Grand Arena, if all allies are Hutt Cartel allies at the start of battle, all allies gain 50% max health. Now, if he's solo, he gains 250%. So we're getting an extra 50% here. If all of Rotta others allies are Darkside, whenever they or Rotta are inflicted with a debuff, they inflict a thermal detonator on that enemy. That applied it for 2 turns, which can't be evaded or resisted. Whenever Rotta defeats an enemy, the cooldown of Showboat is decreased by 1 and all allies gain bonus protection, 40% until the end of the encounter. If Rotta was the only ally at the start of the battle, he takes reduced damage from percentile health effects, and defeated enemies cannot be revived. This is a wonderful Omicron. Honestly, you're gaining additional stacking stats. If Rotta's on his own, enemies can't be revived, and we're going to talk again, I said in a moment, about the fact that this is going to get even more powerful in the very, very near future. Another way to reduce the cooldown on Showboat, which is your AoE control, massive amounts of damage, that is so much better than what it is in Colosseum. So it's an absolute must, boys. It's an absolute must. Then he's got a second unique over here called a large character. Just means you can't have summoned units, and you can't play him with another Jabba. Basically, you can't play him with Jabba the Hutt, which is probably a good thing. Probably a good thing. Okay, so what do we know? Rotta has got an FDC. This FTC should theoretically be coming to the game very, very shortly. You'll be able to find it inside of the episode shipments, which will refresh in 1 day and 22 hours. What happens in 1 day and 22 hours? The start of a brand new era, as well as, you know, these units going live into your roster. So it's all going to drop at once, and then you're going to have basically 24 hours to remod your rosters and get these things all up and running, ready for a new round of GAC. So let's take a look. Hi Cal, how are you? In case you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to see what datacrons are coming to the game, if you can't see it in the game right now, you can actually go to swigger.gg, go to the database, I want to say, and there should be a datacron section over here, and we'll go to Supremacy Directive. Now, the normal ones are available at the moment, but these are the FDCs coming. I'm not going to go through them ad verbatim, but what I will say is that all of these are highly valuable for their stat spreads alone. 100% crit damage, 80% offense, 140% defense, 100% health on the, what's the name? Colonel Ward's FDC. Absolutely mental stats. This is like better than the Jabba, the Wampacron in terms of stats. It's just pure nuttiness. And then you've got the Snowtrooper Commander one, which gives you 140% crit damage and 110% offense. Absolutely nutty again. So if nothing else, you'll want these 3 FDCs just for the stat spread. Even if you don't have the units, you will want these because those stats are crazy, boys. So let's talk then about Rotta. Rotta the Hutt is gaining a rather wonderful FDC. 100% crit damage, 140% potency, which means how easy is it going to be to land that off balance when he does his first special? Pretty darn easy with 140% potency coming out the wazoo. You know, that's almost going to guarantee it. 155% defense because we can't very well be having Rotta the Hutt taking damage, and 100% health on top of, you know, his unique giving him stupid stats. And I know you're saying, but Scribe, wait a minute, that's, you know, only if Rotta is solo, and so what about that? Well, no, unfortunately not. If we take a look at the level 15 of this FDC, Rotta the Hutt's solo effects are active when he has allies. So all of that 250% health and protection, all of the bonus things that he gets from being a solo unit are now going to apply when he has a full team of Hutt Cartel allies, if you have this FDC. Holy moly mazzaccioli, let's get some mozzarella on there because we are getting cheesy in this business. Okay, let's read the rest. Whenever Rotta the Hutt critically hits, he gains 10% crit chance stacking, a maximum of 100%. He's going to crit, let's be real, until the end of the encounter. Whenever Rotta uses Knock 'em Dead, that's the first special. If an enemy is inflicted with off balance, which they will because of all of that potency, Hutt Cartel allies will recover 15% of their health and protection. And whenever Rotta defeats an enemy, he's going to stack 10% offense up to a maximum of 80% until the end of the encounter. Most of that is kind of tame. However, the fact that he can basically have his Wampacron active, even with a full team, just means that this team is going to be BANANAS. BANANAS, or something like that. I'm bananas. So yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. Now, obviously, we do have a prescribed team for this FDC, but does that necessarily mean that's the team that you're going to be using? I don't know. Let's read it out. Gammo God, the piggy oink oink himself, which is a terrible, terrible unit. At the start of the encounter, Gamorrean God gains 5 stacks of my kind of scum, 100% potency, and 50 speed. Then he gains 20% counter chance for each Hutt Cartel ally. Fair enough, right? We've got 1 round of 3v3 left, I want to say 1 week of 3v3 left, and then we're going to go back to 5v5. So he's going to be gaining 100% counter chance in 5v5, but only 60% in 3v3, yeah. Because this says for each Hutt Cartel ally, it includes himself, okay? If it said each other Hutt Cartel ally, it would only include the other allies and not himself. Whenever Gammo God inflicts a stack of dots, he gains Riposte for 2 turns, which is going to play well into the counter chance. He's got lots of potency and lots of additional potency on this FDC naturally, so he's probably going to be landing those dots. Whilst taunting, he takes 30% reduced damage from enemies with a stack of damage over time or thermal detonators. Whenever Gammo God removes turn meter from the enemy, reduce the cooldowns of his abilities by 1. I think if Urs was still playing this game properly, he would be so stoked to see this Gammo God Datacron come to the game. He'd be so stoked, you know, he'd be trying to do some Beauty and the Beast setups or some such. Sound off in the chat if you know what that is. Alright, level 6 goes to Mob Enforcer. If the ally in the leader slot is Hutt Cartel, whenever they use an ability, Mob Enforcer assists, dealing 50% more damage. This is nice. This is real nice. At the start of Mob Enforcer's turn, all enemies inflicted with thermal detonators are inflicted with buff immunity for a turn. This is really nice. Whenever Mob Enforcer attacks out of turn, she always scores a critical hit if able, and she's doing 50% more damage, which is nice. Whenever an enemy critically hits Mob Enforcer, that enemy is inflicted with a stack of thermal detonators for 2 turns, which can't be evaded or resisted. Now, you don't really want her being hit, but she's going to be pretty tanky anyway, because of all the additional defense and all the additional stat spreads from Rotta. So more thermal detonators is a good thing. Then we've got Greedo. Whenever Greedo critically hits an enemy, Greedo gains 10% critical damage, defense penetration, and offense, up to 200% until the end of battle. So I think if you've got a Greedo that's got decent amounts of relic levels, you might want to remod him to do, lots of damage, because these are really good stats. Generally speaking, though, Greedo's just not that great of a unit. Level 12 for Cad Bane, the Chad himself. Whenever another ally recovers protection, Cad Bane gains foresight. This is going to be really annoying because they are always going to be recovering protection. Based on this FTC, based on Rotta's stats and stuff like that, his abilities, there's a lot of protection recovery and health recovery, truth be told, in his kit, baked in. So he's almost always going to have foresight, which is nice. It'll keep the team going. And of course, Rotta the Hutts. We've already gone over that. Now, do I think that this setup here of using Mob Enforcer, Greedo, Cad Bane, and Gammo Guard is going to be the best setup? I mean, realistically, if we were to look at Darks, because they have to be Dark Side Hut Cartel allies, you can't really be going in and using the light side. It cuts off a bunch of Rotta's stats, right? You could, of course, use someone like Santi. I don't think that's going to be a great setup because Santi is kind of needed for Jabba. Jabba the Hutt feels now you have to absolutely take him on offense, because if you leave him on defense, Rotta's just going to solo him. You could put your Rotta on defense, of course, and try to get the most value out of that. But, it's still a bit of a risky play, especially with things like, who else have we got? We've got Cobb Vanth that's able to take out Jabba. That's better in 5s rather than 3s, but it's still a thing, right? You still don't really want to break away Santi from a Jabba team. And if you're going to be using Jabba, you're probably going to want to be using him on offense to take out something decent. Which means you could theoretically save all of your Dark Side Hut Cartel allies and then just throw Jabba the Hutt as a solo unit to take out something that, he can easily solo. There are a number of things that he can do that with. You could just cycle round to his ult and insta-kill everything one by one systematically. Now, obviously, Bausch and Skiffguard Lando are off the table, which leaves us with the likes of Embo, which I think is actually a decent choice. And if I was to remove someone, it would probably be someone like Greedo, because I don't feel like Greedo is in that great of a position. I don't think he's that great of a unit, just generally speaking. His stats just don't match up. Even with that ramping stats, I kind of like the ability of Embo being able to dispel on a basic, being able to use his hat and his kick, which does good damage, truth be told. And generally speaking, people tend to have a little bit more investment in Embo than they do in Greedo. Cad Bane is fine. Mob Enforcers, I think it's the level 6 or the level 9, I can't remember which one. Her ability on the FDC, which, like I said, is dropping on Tuesday when the new era comes out, I think that is significantly powerful enough to warrant having her on the team. Now, mine's only Relic 3. Definitely do not want to be taking in low Relic units into this GAC, because Relic Delta will tear you a new bumhole, okay? So I'm thinking, man, Gammo Guard I would kind of like to swap out for Santi. We might just relegate Jabba the Hutt to solo offense only and use Santi in there, because Santi is actually a really tanky unit. In 3v3, what setup are we going to go with Rotta? I feel like Mob Enforcer has to be a staple. And then it's going to be a toss-up. You could use Boba Fett for extra damage, which is going to be significant damage. You could use Gammo Guard to provide yourself with a tank. This is just 3v3. In 5v5, I would probably take Gammo, Mob Enforcer. I would take Cad Bane just to make it really irritating. And then it's going to be a toss-up between Boba and Embo for me. You know what I mean? I do think Embo potentially will have some spot in Territory Wars. If you happen to have Embo's TW Omicron, which is actually really good, throw that in with the FTC. Could have some fun stuff going there. Maybe we just forget about Jabba the Hutt in general for now. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to kind of do it. Make sure you save up some resources for your data cache to get that FTC. Like I said, all 3 of those FTCs that are coming out to the game have got phenomenal stats on them. So even if you don't have the units, even if you don't care about the units, get the FTCs, because oh my lord are those stats so good. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, if we get 1,000 likes on this video, I will be R-naming my OG Cal, and if we hit that, I will do another vote, and we'll just do another random roll for a unit in my account that needs to go to R9, and we will then do another one of these back and forth. So, ladies and gentlemen, leave me a comment down below. Are you excited for Rotta, the start of the next era? Are you excited for Darth Jar Jar? If you haven't already, by the way, I've got a giveaway going on for the new era. It's in my video. I'm going to post it right here. Go there, enter the giveaway, and prep yourself for the best opportunity for you to get Darth Jar Jar and the associated units, from a free-to-play at a 5-star unlock all the way up to the big whaley boys that want to get that 7-star unlock. Your boy Scribble's got your back, and I've got a great giveaway in that video. Go check it out right now.